Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police is set to begin an inquiry into gang-related violence with a focus on finding long-term and sustainable solutions to the scourge. The committee will hold a solutions-based summit tomorrow, bringing together victims of gang violence, civil society organisations, community groups and people working on the ground to combat gang-related crime. Westbury residents are once again living in fear following a deadly shooting in nearby Newclare on Saturday night. The death toll in the shooting incident in Newclare, west of Johannesburg, has risen to 4. To discuss why the state is yet to break the grip of gangs on some of the country's most crime-ravaged communities, we are now joined by Police Portfolio Committee Chairperson Ian Cameron and anti-gang activist and member of the Gauteng Legislature, Bishop Dulton Davis. Where did I get that? Dulton Adams. Good to have both of you. Thank you very, very much for joining us here. Ian, thank you as well. Thanks. I know that you're obviously at Parliament in the Cape, but I'm going to begin with you because the anti-gang unit has frequently faced criticism for being under-resourced. You know, this is one of the things, I suppose, that happens all the time, understaffed. As chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, what concrete legislative and budgetary oversight mechanisms are you implementing to ensure that specialized anti-gang units receive the tactical gear, the intelligence, the capabilities, and the manpower that they actually need?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's so critical to discuss this. It's extremely frustrating. I visited the anti-gang unit in different parts of the country over the last few years, and every time I find the same shortages of resources, etc. Now, it's horrific. Not because the money is not there, but because they're not getting the money that they're meant to get. We highlight this in every single budget process. Everything from our side has been done, but it seems that it's not allocated accordingly. The anti-gang unit, up until today, does not have a fixed establishment. It does not have a fixed budget that's purely for anti-gang related work. And it really has become very frustrating, especially when you see that many of the anti-gang unit police members also don't have specialized training for that specific capacity. So it's not something that we can necessarily operationally turn around. There needs to be the political will, and I call it specifically political will, in senior leadership of SABC to want to combat this.
Yeah, and this is a point I'm going to get to in a short while, but I want to bring Bishop Dulton into the conversation now because, Bishop, what we saw happening over the weekend in Newclare, this is becoming more and more regular. I mean, obviously in the Western Cape, that is a devastating situation, but it seems like certain areas within, whether we talk about Newclare or Westbury or wherever, all of the hotspot areas. Do we know what happened there? Is this gang-related? Can we assume it is, or do we know anything more?
Well, let me greet you, Leanne, and the viewers of SABC, and also to Chairperson Cameron. It is definitely gang-related. Okay. There's no doubt. This has been coming on for decades in the areas of Westbury, Claremont, Newclare, that constituency. So what happened over the weekend, on the backdrop of 2 of the people, young men being killed on Friday, I think our intelligence on the ground tells us that it was a revenge killing. Yeah. So what happened was in some of the flats, there was shooting that happened and 4 young men lost their lives. 1 is still in hospital. The brutality of this shooting is what really alarmed the community and myself, is that they ran into a bathroom, as it were, and 3 of them were shot dead there, and the other one was outside. But what also is secondly alarmingly, and Chair, is the issue of what caliber of weapons were used in that shooting. We have never seen that, and I've been in Westbury all my life. I grew up, I'm a child of that soil, and finding that, I think, and I'm not an expert in guns, but it sounded like an Uzi machine gun that is being used. And we don't know where these guns are coming from. We don't know who's bringing them into our communities, but clearly there's an orchestrated attempt to arm. And one needs to mention, and I think it's imperative that I say that there must be a commodity, there must be a product that drives us. It can't just be for, like we say in colloquial language, for inje. It's drugs. Drugs is the driver of all this violence that are happening in all our communities. And this must be addressed very seriously, Leanne.
It's absolutely frightening, and I think I cannot agree with you more in terms of we're missing such a key intelligence here, and I don't understand it because, I mean, let me come back to you, Chair, because when I look at numbers here, South Africa, between January and March, South Africa recorded 5,181 murders. SAPS classified 242 as gang-related in a causative factor data, and 225 of them occurred in the Western Cape. So these are the numbers we're working with. And I want to bring into play an article that's in the Cape Argus today. And in this Cape Argus, and this is all about the SANDF working in these communities now, there's recordings and you know, of some of the people speaking out to the soldiers and saying that they're not being given the big fry. They're being taken to the little guys. And it seems like the community and the police are protecting the big gang lords, and only the little men are the ones that they are leading them to. This is all speculative. Obviously, these are things that are being quoted by voice notes that the anti-crime group Fight Against Crime SA have. And I'll quote it. They say, they focus mostly on tuck shops and shebeens. They don't take us to the big cats. They are afraid to go to that guy. Every time we ask them to take us there, they don't want to. That's just one of the concerns that they've raised. Ian, would you like to comment on this?
No, 100%. It's a huge problem. Firstly, let me just comment on the data first regarding gang murders. I think it's much higher than that. I can tell you as an example, not this past weekend, the one before, we had over 30 gang-related murders in the Western Cape alone for that weekend, and the large majority of them were in your traditional Cape Flat areas, and that's not even mentioning the extortion crisis. So I think it's much higher than that. But nevertheless, this is much deeper than just a policing issue. There's a bigger socioeconomic challenge, but there's also a social fabric issue, if I might call it that. And it's very important that it sees some kind of a holistic approach. We very often hear that the police, is fingered in a lot of the issues that we face, or it's their fault allegedly. And yes, it's true what was just said about the voice notes, etc. Last week on Friday, we did an oversight visit to assess Operation Prosper with regards to the SANDF and SABC. And in both cases, both police members and soldiers alike told us that they are frustrated, the one with the other, because it feels like they were just being led to so-called small fry. And we still don't see any kind of an integrated approach with the MPA or bolstered forensic capacity in the police. Or let's say, for example, the South African Revenue Service. What have they done to play a role in targeting kingpins? So we really need to rethink the integrated strategy. And I think what makes it frustrating to me, these comments, everything that we're discussing this morning is exactly what we told the police minister and the Minister of Defense before the deployment happened. We met with them twice. I asked them specifically, and I've asked this again and again, and they're still not answering, what are the measurable outcomes to which you are going to compare the results of Operation Prosper? And we don't have that answer yet. And unfortunately, we haven't seen much resolve. Here and there are small successes, but we haven't seen a major change in the violent trend.
Yeah, this is the problem. And Bishop, I'll come to you again, because it doesn't seem that the SANDF are helping. It doesn't seem that their presence is doing anything. It's almost just like they're there, but what are they really doing? And you and I were chatting a little bit off air, saying that you are wanting to actually say that a localized, almost state of emergency needs to be declared in certain areas.
Correct.
Talk to me about this.
Look, we have tried everything. We have tried everything in all our communities. I'm sure in the Western Cape, or in Gauteng, in the Eastern Cape, in KZN. There's no let up when it comes to this gang violence in our communities. So you cannot even begin to understand that communities are really trying. The NPOs, churches, faith leaders, everybody's trying to make a difference, but it's not coming. So I would be calling today. The acting premier will be coming to our community meeting today at 11:30 in Westbury and Newclare, and the MMC for JMPD will be present. We want them, we want the security cluster to engage with them, and we'll be calling very strongly for a local state of disaster, specifically in Ward 69 and Ward 82.
Yeah.
And one would want to say that in all the, because if you look at the constitutional imperatives, it gives communities that leeway to be able to say, we call the mayor, we call the premier to assist, because they can declare a local state of disaster and the premier a provincial state of disaster. And it encapsulates everything, where it comes to school programs, when it comes to a holistic approach, when it comes to, and as Chair said, it can't just be about policing. It must be all the different stakeholders, the security clusters coming in and going into community. And there must be a strong hand and force coming into the communities.
Yeah.
You can't allow a small place like Westbury being held hostage for years. There is no political will. No. And I say it perpetually and continually. And this needs to change. So that, for me, today is the game changer in terms of the local state of disaster for our community. And maybe all the other communities must do the same to hold the authorities' feet to the fire, Leanne.
And the problem is the authorities are the ones that appear to be benefiting. And it is not within their better will to do anything about it, because they're making money, they're living good lives. The problem is the people on the streets, the people that are dying, the children that are being recruited, those that don't have jobs, they're unemployed, they've got nothing to do, there's no recreation, there are corrupt police officers all over the place. And the problem is, who cares? Because I'm living a good life. I don't care about you. I mean, Ian, this is the sense that I'm getting. It doesn't matter where you go in South Africa. It's the same narrative. It's just some places are worse than others. Children are being murdered on the streets. Children are shooting guns at 10, 11.
Let me take it even a step further. And that is with regards to the frustration that cops on ground level feel. Sorry, I don't know what's going on there. Apologies. Cops on ground level feel massive frustration, because you can imagine that many of the good ones, the career members that have been so dedicated in years of service, feel that they can't trust people around them. They don't know who to go to. They have to risk their lives, but they keep on facing the same old onslaught. I mean, those anti-gang members that were killed in Reiger Park, 2 weeks ago, you can imagine the frustration that they feel, because they don't have sometimes, and I'm not saying those two didn't, but many of them don't have the capacity and the training and the senior support that they should have. So it becomes very frustrating then, because how do they build a solid policing career if they don't feel they've got senior support? So I agree exactly with what both of you have said. I think it's critical that there's a far more aggressive approach to the gangs, and I can just imagine people frowning and saying, but constitutional rights, etc. I'm not saying we need to break any form of law or legislation, but what I am saying is that we need to stop handling gangsters with handcuffs, and so the kingpins too. They shouldn't be bankable. They shouldn't be able to store or save the money that they are, because we need to cut off the snake's head. If we don't change our approach and have a more direct, aggressive approach to them, we're teasing ourselves. Nothing will change. It will continue as per usual.
And the sad part is that sometimes the snake's head is already in jail, and they're running their cartels from jail and from prison. And that is petrifying. It's absolutely petrifying. I mean, Bishop, we're running out of time. So we've got Parliament's Portfolio Committee beginning the public phase of the inquiry tomorrow. Is this going to do anything? Do you think this is the right step?
Look, everything must be done. We must keep on knocking. We must push the state to act. And what the Parliament Portfolio Committee is doing, what we are doing in the legislature, what the communities are doing on the ground, we've got to keep on knocking, keep on making our voices heard. If we don't do that, we are giving over this country to lawlessness. And we are close to what we call a Gwara state, as it were, in our communities. The unemployment rate, Leanne, is a massive driver with regards to violence and gangs and drugs in our communities, especially in the coloured communities. So when we talk about the declaration of a local state of disaster or provincial state of disaster, it must be able to, and I want to lobby the chairperson, Ian Cameron, to say that this is what we must push strongly, because I believe the Constitution gives us the opportunity to hold the Premier and his entire executive, the Mayor and his executive accountable. They're not coming otherwise. They only come when there is, maybe, and humbly I say this in condolences to everybody that's died in the corps, they come because it's like an animal farm. It only comes when police are being killed, and that's wrong. Yeah. It can't be. Yeah. Life is valuable for all of us, and everybody in South Africa's life matters.
Absolutely. I've run out of time, but Ian, I want you to comment on what the Bishop has just said. Is it possible? Do you think you could lobby for something like that? Localized state of disasters?
Yeah, I think it's a discussion that should be held maybe as part of the summit. We have an opportunity to bring that up tomorrow when we start with the summit. I've got no problem with exploring that. I am very tired of carrying flowers to families, and it really has become, it's a war zone level of violence. So I think it's something that should be considered.
Yeah, it really is. Gentlemen, thank you. Thanks very much for talking to us. We'll continue to carry on shining a spotlight on this topic. It's not going to end. We'll keep you updated. We'll see how these things go. Not right that over 30 people get killed in one weekend. It's not right. It can't be right. That was Bishop Dulton Adams, anti-gang activist and member of the Gauteng Legislature, and Ian Cameron, the Police Portfolio Committee chairperson, speaking about the scourge of gang violence in South Africa.